just the starting point. Now I want to tell you the story that we found out from PI, Private Investigator Balasubramanian. I'm able to tell you the story. Why? Because I had the privilege of meeting the man in person in the early part of 2008. Those of you in KL who know the area of Sri Hartamas will know there is a pub called Backyard. Those of you who know the place. I was having a drink with a few friends in Backyard and Balasubramanian was introduced to me. And he started talking about what happened. His knowledge, his link with Razak Baginda, his link with Altantuya, and what happened. I listened to him for a few minutes, and then I said, listen, this is very, very serious, what you are saying. Get yourself a lawyer, an independent lawyer, right? Get it documented properly, and if you're still prepared to tell the story, you come back and see us. That's what we told him that night. It took a couple of months. A lawyer called Amrit Singh then acted for him, sat down with him and wrote down the entire story. And in July that year, you know, P.I. Balasubramanian held the press conference and told his story. And these are parts of the story which he told. And these are the questions which our criminal justice system should have asked of the Prime Minister's role, and to today are refusing to ask or are told not to ask. For example, when Razak Baginda was arrested, there is an SMS sent from the Prime Minister. Najib Razak's phone sends him an SMS to Razak after he's being arrested. The message is sent to P.I. Bala sees it, and Razak's lawyer, who was on the photograph on the slide there earlier when William showed it, also saw it. The message says, I am seeing the IGP at 11 a.m. today, matter will be resolved, be cool. Najib Razak SMSing to Razak Baginda after his arrest. Okay. Why is the Prime Minister doing that? What's going on? What is the link between them? Now, let's go to the night of the murder. P.I. Bala is telling the story. What happened in front of Razak Baginda's house? Altantuya comes there, creates some commotion. And that has been going on for a few weeks because Razak Baginda basically appointed P.I. Bala as his P.I. to sort of deal with the problem of Altantuya. Altantuya had been harassing him apparently, claiming that 500,000 US was owed to her by Razak Baginda in connection with the Scorpene deal. That was basically her issue. She was upset that she was not paid the money. She thought she had been cheated, and she saw Razak as part of that conspiracy to cheat her. So she was in front of his house creating a commotion. Razak Baginda makes a phone call to a certain high-ranking person to help solve that problem. And who was that? His name is DSP Musa Safir. And who is that person? Does anybody want to guess? The ADC of our Prime Minister, Najib Razak. The ADC, no less. You know who an ADC is? The ADC is like your personal officer, like your personal secretary. In uniform, he's an ADC, he's an officer of rank, and he's assigned the role to be with you as part of your inner circle of staff. The phone call is made to Musa Safir that night and also subsequently. What happens then? Now, this is interesting. All this is in the statement made by Balasubramanian, sworn, declared in public. And today he has challenged the AG of this country. You can charge me if you say my statutory declaration is false. What is the response of AG? Silence. What is the response of Minister Nazri? Oh no, he cannot be charged. There is no offense that we can see. That is their response to the open challenge made by Balasubramanian. Charge me for making a false declaration if you say my first SD is false. This is what he said. He said, after talking to Altantuya, this is in front of the house, he calls her Amina because that was the name she was using, Amina. A red proton aerobac arrived with a woman and two men. I now know the woman to be Lance Corporal Rohaniza and the men Azila Adri and Sirul Azahar. They were all in plain clothes. Azila walked towards me while the other two stayed in the car. Azila asked me whether the woman was Amina. I said yes. He then walked off and made a few phone calls on his handphone. So that is the scenario. Altantuya, Stoke Amina is there, P.I. Baba is there, and these three policemen, two men and one woman have come up. Now the next sentence is very important. This is in his SD. After another 10 minutes, another vehicle, a blue Proton Saga, driven by a Malay man, passed by slowly. The driver's window had been wound down and the driver was looking at us. Okay? Then he goes on. Azila then informed me they would be taking Amina away. I informed Amina they were arresting her. Then they take Amina, they put her in the red Proton car and they drive off. That is the last Amina Altantuya is seen in this world. That is the last. The important part I want to mention now is this. This blue Proton Saga driven by a Malay man, who was that? At that point in time when Bala did his SD, he didn't know the person. He just described what was happening. Now, this same Malay man became a public personality in Malacca sometime in 2010 when he made a public speech and made some very racist remarks about Chinese and Indians. You remember the speech? The man's name is Nasir Safar. Do you know who he is? He's the private secretary of Najib for the last 20 years. Not 1 or 2 years, 20 years. Okay? So when his face came up after that controversy, Bala, who was then overseas, in the internet saw the face and said, "That's the man." That was the man who drove past with the window down. And he made a public statement. I didn't identify him. Nasir Safar did not challenge that. Nasir Safar did not say, "No, it was not me, I was not there." He stayed silent. Now, think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the connections. Razak Baghinder's connection. The two killers, convicted killers, are part of the Prime Minister's bodyguard unit. The man to whom Razak Baghinder makes phone calls to call the police in is Musa Safiri, the ADC of Najib. The man who drives past in the blue Proton Saga quietly is Nasir Safar, his personal confidential secretary for the last 20 years. Don't you think any policeman with some brains will have to say, "I have some questions to ask of Najib. I have some questions to direct to the Prime Minister and say, sir, I have to ask you some questions. I have to ask you, what is your relationship between Razak Baghinda and have you connection to Altantuya? I have to ask you, why did Musa Safiri get involved? Did you instruct him? I have to ask you, what was your personal secretary doing in front of Altantuya's house that night? Who sent him there? Did you send him there? Obvious questions have to be asked. Were these questions asked? No. And this is what we are facing. And this is not the end of it. This is not the end of it. Because what happened after that? Now we fast forward. We fast forward to the story that we know what happened to P.I. Balasubramaniam. We know after his first expose, when he released his first SD, then he was grabbed by certain people, he was made to do a second SD. And then he disappeared overseas. Then, of course, subsequently, some months later, he revealed what happened. He revealed how he was kidnapped by a group of people, he was forced to change his story, he was quickly whisked out of the country, his family was given passports within a matter of 2-3 hours. Now you know how that's not easy to do. The police then took him out to Singapore, to Bangkok, came and interviewed him in Bangkok later and all that. But the most interesting part of his story, which is also revealed later, is who he met that night. And this is what he described. He was taken to meet a certain VIP. This is about middle of the night, the same night. Suresh, ASP Suresh, the person, the group who grabbed him, said we were going to meet the VIP. A Malay gentleman arrived with his pregnant wife and Deepak. And ladies and gentlemen, do you know who that Malay gentleman is? Who has been identified both by Balasubramanian and others? This is none other than the brother of Najib Tun Razak, Nizam Razak. Yeah. So the brother of the Prime Minister meets Balasubramanian that night and tells him this. He told him, these are the words in the statement. He told me he knew I had a family. He asked me whether I loved them. I replied, of course I love my family. He then told me I should take good care of them as anything could happen to them. He then told me if I wanted to avoid any problems with my family, I should just follow Deepak's instructions and everything would be okay. He told me I had to retract the contents of my first statutory declaration. The Malay Dato then left immediately with his wife. So that is another question I think we want to ask Najib Tun Razak. Is it true that your brother went and met Balasubramanian that night? Is it true that he said all these things to him? Now when the reporters confronted Nizam Razak with this, there was no denial. There was no denial. He just runs away from the question. He doesn't answer. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my case put in brief. There's more, but we don't have time to discuss it. Now, put yourselves in the position of an independent police investigator. Put yourselves in the position of an independent federal DPP who is in charge of investigating and prosecuting this case. Don't you think we have more than a few questions to ask the Prime Minister about his connection with this case? So this is what has been done to our criminal justice system. One set of rules for all of us and one different set of rules for certain people. This is the other side. This is the other side of the Scorpene stroke Altantuya story.